Okay, and we will now go live on Facebook.
Awesome.
All right, let's see here. There we go. There's the two of us.
Oh, perfect.
All right, and let's see, let me try one more setting. You cannot minimize Zoom while you're recording. Okay, so I will not minimize that. All right. Okay.
All right, so do you want me to start, or what do you think?
Give me just 1 second to get this up here.
Hello. You are so high tech with everything. Oh, I see it on the side. It's live and recording.
Do you see yourself?
I see like just a notification that says it's live streaming, which is cool.
Okay, let me just pull up this on my phone and see how we're doing here.
That would be really cool.
Okay, let's go.
Awesome. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit with all of you about teen drug use and how to bridge these difficult and important conversations with your adolescent or your young adult. And here's Caroline. Carolyn.
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for joining us today on GASP Live.
So fun.
You and I met through yoga, and I've been following all of your Facebook Lives on Wisdom Within, your counseling practice. And I just wanted to say thank you for agreeing to come and do a live session as we get ready for Prevention Week. I love and value everything that you say. I think you're great at what you do, and I'm really excited that you're going to share your expertise with my audience. And I'm super excited that you're here. Now, for those of you who don't know Katie, she is from Wisdom Within Counseling in Niantic. She's a yoga teacher and a licensed marriage and family therapist. She does a lot of things. And if I've missed anything, she'll fill that in. But thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about prevention. And I know you've got a lot of expertise in this area and a lot of great perspective. So thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was a wonderful introduction. It was so fun to meet in yoga. I know it's been so cool having us both kind of work a lot with teens and their families in terms of health and wellness. So, all right. So today we're going to be talking about teen drug use, and also at the end, you can always post comments on Facebook. Carolyn will be catching those as you post them. And you can always comment below after the video and we can get back to you with answers. So A big piece of teen drug use and this training is going to be talking about what to do and what not to do. So I have some lists of do's and don'ts for you. So the first one is to talk lovingly, ask, get curious about teen drug use, um, and really get into those conversations with your teenager. Um, don't be afraid that by asking about drugs that you think your teen will then do drugs. It's really important to start these conversations young, rather than right when your teen is presented with an experience. Um, Also, another do is to model behavior that is appropriate. So if you have a teenager and they're struggling with drinking, don't take out a beer or a bottle of alcohol in front of them. Make your whole house sober. Make sure that if you want to drink, go to the bar or go somewhere to a restaurant so it's not around your teenager and won't tempt them. Another do, on that same note, is take drugs or alcohol out of your home entirely. So don't tell your teen to stop and then model something different. Also, a big thing is having regular supports. So do line your teen up to go to karate on Monday and gymnastics on Tuesday and an online yoga class on Wednesday and Carrie Underwood's fitness program on Thursday remotely. You know, like you can line up different things for your teen to remain accountable. Because a big thing is don't let them have lack of social support, lack of academic support. Don't let their grades drop down below a B- or C. And of course, don't skip regular weekly important programs. So if your teen drinks, don't take away an important activity that would actually promote mental health. Another do is to offer something fun to do together instead. So oftentimes, teens are being swayed by peer pressure and these different external pressures of what they think they should be and what they think they should be doing to be cool or to be likable or to be hot or attractive. So a big piece of this is having that strong, firm sounding block as a family. And this can be neighbors, relatives. It doesn't just have to be blood relatives. These can be surrogate grandparents that you've adopted in that are, two houses down. And do something fun together. So watch a movie, play a board game like Risk or Monopoly or Jenga, and really start to build meaningful connection around other fun things without drugs and alcohol. You can also do an exercise video on YouTube or do one of my guided meditations together. So it's a great way to build meaning around sober living. One don't is if your teen is sad, don't be dismissive because that can make them angry or want to go use or want to numb out. As a parent, one of the best things that you can do is be that emotional sounding board, offer unconditional love. And if your teen is sad, let them know, hey, it's okay to cry. It's always okay to come to me when you feel sad like this. And I'm always going to rub your back if you need to cry. And you and your teen might even cry together. It's something where we want to show real emotions and that it's good to express those feelings. Also, do is to offer your teen organized coping skills, such as, that weekly therapy or bi-weekly therapy. And as a parent, seek your own counseling to make sure that you know how to calm your reaction, that you know how to communicate effectively to your teen, and you can have your own place to unload stress. Another don't is don't leave your teen unsupervised. So your teen may want to be home alone. Of course, they will all want to be independent, but use your judgment because some teenagers will get into mischief and be mischievous home alone. They'll go into the alcohol cabinet, so make sure your alcohol cabinet and prescriptions are in a lockbox. Don't leave them in your sock drawer, or in the medicine cabinet that everyone uses, because your teens also have friends that are coming over that may be on a different path in life. So if you have a fast-acting anxiety medication or a fast-acting ADHD medication, put those in a lockbox. Also, if your teenager is on ADHD medication, give them one in the morning and then see them take it and then put the rest of them in the lockbox. Otherwise, teenagers might be tempted to make some fast cash selling drugs at school to their peers. And always, again, lock the alcohol cabinet. All right, so now I wanted to talk a little bit about some red flags. How can you know if your teen is even into these negative coping skills, and how do you help them catch that positive wave, that positive component to, really understanding, loving themselves and accepting themselves and realizing that they're good enough without alcohol, that they don't need alcohol to have fun or to be cool, like they're already awesome, and helping them realize that they can excel in school to really develop this part of themselves. So if your teen has been caught stealing or you found stolen items, sometimes teenagers won't admit to stealing, but maybe you found a camera that they have, and on their camera roll, they have photos of them stealing things. So you want to kind of sneak around a little bit and see, make sure you have access to your teen's TikTok and your teen's Instagram, and make a profile, whether it's a fake profile or whatnot, so you can see what they're posting. Teens on TikTok will post some dark videos, and you might see a TikTok and realize your teen is suicidal. So it's really important to start seeing what they're doing on social media. Also, if your teen is drinking, smoking, if you found items, paraphernalia, cigarettes, lighters, if your teen smells like smoke, that's a pretty obvious sign that they've been playing around and experimenting. And reckless driving, lack of connection with themselves, self-harm, cutting, self-injury. A big component of what I work with in my practice is non-suicidal self-injury, which is, to me, very similar to a drug use or addiction, because it's that addiction to the cutting behavior. So we replace that with positive coping skills. A lot of times teens will have an eating disorder, have lost a lot of weight or gained a substantial amount of weight in a short period of time, and have some food issues and body image issues. Also, if there's technology addiction, frequent crying and anger, so these low moods and really high moods might be a sign that your teenager might be using drugs or alcohol. Also, paranoia and poor hygiene are also signs that your teen could really benefit from having a therapist or someone outside of the family to help them get clear on their identity and gain confidence and gain positive holistic coping skills for anxiety or anger. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about some ways that we help, and some ways that you can help your teenager reconnect with themselves to get back on a healthy path in life, and to realize that there are more beautiful things in life than drugs and alcohol, and that they're a beautiful person, and drugs and alcohol are not going to make them better than who they are. It's just going to kind of numb out. It's not going to really address anything. So I like to refocus on trust and attachment, right? Because it can be really easy to look at, the bad behavior. Oh, they're just doing this thing. They're drinking. They're bad, right? But your child, didn't always drink and didn't always talk to you in an angry way and didn't always punch walls, right? So we want to start to look at this as a trust and attachment response. So there was something that left their life, maybe a parent abandonment, or maybe a divorce, or maybe a family pet passes away, or a big move to a new school where they had to lose all their friends. So there is an attachment that has been broken. So now your teenager is trying to find attachment to this drug or alcohol to fill that void and fill that loss. So what you're looking at doing as a parent and as a treatment team is going in there with love and kindness and with building attachment to healthier things. So we're really just replacing an old coping skill with something that's more self-serving. So another big thing too for teens is to understand, yes, they do need some independence. They do need to be capable of, being on their own and driving, but they are also still children. So there is one foot in adulthood and one foot in childhood for a teenager. So they're, as much as you might want to say, yep, they're going off to college in 2 months, like they're still a child and they still need to be a little kid at times. So make healthy boundaries around, family time, and know when your teen's appointments are. So even if they schedule their dentist appointment or they schedule their own therapy session, see if you can get an appointment reminder, or see if you can have an email so that they have a session at Wednesday at 5 p.m. or they have a session Friday at 11, and you can remain on top of their routine. And so if they didn't show up to their physical therapy session, their physical therapist has consent to contact you as the parent versus just working with the teen, right? So you still want to remain really involved in their medical care and treatment, especially even if your teen's 18 and has an eating disorder, right? Make sure to still be that parent. Just because they're 18 doesn't mean much, it just means that they're an adult and dealing with adult feelings, but still a kid and needs those coping skills. So see if you can also have other adults keeping an eye on your teenager. So if your teenager is at lacrosse practice or hanging out with friends, right, and they're going to go to the local bakery, maybe you have a good friendship with the bakery owner. And so the bakery owner can smell if they smell like smoke because they've just walked from your house to the bakery, right? So you can start to have eyes on your teenager. And you can also have a team in place. So a registered dietitian, a nutritionist to help your teen build a loving relationship with food. Every teen can benefit from seeing a nutritionist, to understand what a protein is, to how to eat at college, to how to have an avocado. Like a lot of times teenagers don't know how to boil pasta, or they feel intimidated about certain foods that they might not like. So these are great coping skills that promote holistic wellness. And it's always best to have these in place before a crisis begins. So a lot of times with my clients, I talk to them about, really using therapy as like proactive intervention. Like, I'm here for you, whether your life is good or bad. And it's something where when life is struggling, or you're really challenged, or you have, your teen steals, you already have the therapist relationship in place. So they may have already been in therapy for 6 months, which creates that strong foundation of trust with the therapist. Also, I'd like to look at addiction and drug use in teen years as a trauma response. This is something that I really like to talk to families about because it's a response. It's a survival mechanism. It's a manager part. It's a fire. It's like these parts. So part of my training is in internal family systems in this model of parts. So when it's not safe to feel a feeling, a part of you develops to manage. So this trauma response has occurred because it was unsafe to feel something, and now your teen is turning to a numbing behavior, a behavior that makes them feel just high and feels good and makes them not have to deal with what happened to them. And I think this is really important because fight, flight, freeze, and retreat responses correlate to the escape and numbing responses. So having a loss of a sibling, having a loss of a parent, having a loss of a pet, like these things are often not talked about once the loss is over. So, a teenager probably won't have a place where they can talk about the loss of their sibling unless they have a therapy session on the calendar to keep that sibling's life alive, to tell the stories, to cry, to feel, to be angry. And it's really hard for a teenager who loses a sibling to verbalize those intense emotions. So that's where a lot of yoga and art and painting and clay and going outside for a walk and animal therapy can be really, really helpful. So for a teenager, it can help them develop self-care to take care of something else. So if you adopt a dog, don't go for the highest energy dog. Just get a dog that needs, to be walked once a day. And your teenager might do really well with having a new pet. Or perhaps you say, if you've been sober for 30 days and we do a little drug test at home, you can adopt a cat, right? So, there's this reward system, but it is focused on relationships. It's not I'm going to give you $10, right? We're building your relationship with emotional connection here. So, and I think it's something where, equine therapy is huge. You can have your teenager volunteer at High Hopes in Old Lyme. You can do a ton of free things. There's like a cat shelter in Groton. You can spend like 2 hours on a Saturday there. So these things are really important. And, and you can talk like cats don't do drugs, like, like dogs don't smoke pot, like they have a great life. Like, how can we do that? So get real with your teen. And realize that trauma is an experience every person has different feelings from. So just because as a parent, you're working again and you've gotten over it, your teenager, this might be their first huge loss. So pet loss is a big thing for families. And for a lot of teenagers, losing a pet is like losing a sibling, especially if they're an only child. So think of this as a trauma response. Also, I want to talk a little bit about LGBTQIA+. I'm actually doing another training for the Affirmative Couch. It's really cool. They're out in California, on yoga and LGBTQ and teens. But this is one of my specialties because I think, let's first break down the acronym real quick. So L is for lesbian, G is for gay, B is bisexual, T is transgender, Q is queer or questioning, I is intersex, and A is androgynous or asexual. And then there's a plus because it's really accepting, this term of all different genders, nationalities, sexualities. And teenagers, when we talk about teen drug use and this training on alcohol and why they're choosing alcohol, a lot of it is sexuality. So if you have religious views as a parent and your teenager is gay, they're going to feel a lot of internalized shame simply because of religious and cultural values in terms of coming out. So they may turn to drugs, drinking, alcohol in order to push those feelings of being gay aside. Being gay or being bisexual is not something that someone can choose. This is something that is, scientific studies have shown that hormones related to being transgender or cisgender are literally formulated in your umbilical cord when you're in utero. So it's not something that you are literally born how you're born, and it's not something your child can choose. So conversion therapies are really outdated and no longer, done because they're very shame-based. So I think a big piece of why people use drugs and alcohol is shame. One of my first jobs out of grad school before I started my private practice was at a 90-day rehab. And I worked with men, all men, and it was so funny. It was an all-male rehab, and they're all gay, but no one wanted to talk about it, even the treatment staff there. And I said, hey, we need to start a safe space LGBTQIA+ group for these men, because some of them are married and they're gay. Some of them are binge drinking because they can't come out. There's a big piece of sexuality and gender and, loss and, wanting to express yourself, be a drag queen or express yourself in a more masculine or feminine way. And all of that is okay. So I think it's really important for parents to also bridge these gaps and talk about like LGBTQIA. What does that mean? Like, are we an LGBTQIA+ affirming family? Are we going to accept, your friend to sleep over who's gay or not gay? Like, these are really important conversations. And I think this can also help to treat the source of substance abuse. Because if you just tell your children like, hey, like no matter what, if you're gay, if you're bisexual, if you like girls or guys, if you're transgender, we accept you just the way you are. And that is so powerful to say to your teenager. And to, if they are presenting as transgender, and they want to be called a different name, that's okay. That's all right. Just, and seek counseling too, because I think that's something that's very important. Because these are very tender issues. It can be a real grieving process for a parent to think that their baby girl who was going to get married and be a bride is now a boy. So there's a lot of emotional mindset changes that families have to go through around LGBTQIA. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about positive self-talk. So one thing that you can do with your teenager and with yourself, because you are their role model, you're modeling all of these things for them, they're looking up to you, everything you do, even if your teen is annoyed or frustrated or moody, they are looking up to you 150%. So it's a beautiful role to have in their life. And repeat to yourself positive statements and repeat to your teen positive statements. Say, hey, I'm awesome. And hey, I'm so glad that you were born. You know, every teenager wants to feel loved and wants to feel accepted, but they're in this push and pull between seeking autonomy and independence and trying to, you know, be their own person, and then also having this strong, resilient family home base to come back to. So one thing that can really help if your teenager is using drugs is having a strong family base. So whenever your teen comes home, say they're driving, like welcome them, open arms, like greet them when they come in the door, like make them feel special as an important person in your house, even though they're growing up. Like, hey, it's so good to see you. How was your drive? Like, come on, give me a hug. You know, like make a point to help your teen feel valid and capable. Um, Also, you can say things like, I am sober and I am good enough, and um, be that dialogue your teen needs to hear. So give your teen a back rub if they, are open to it, and say, hey, like, you're so beautiful, you're so handsome, whatever their words are. You're doing such a great job in school. This is such a tough year, but you have overcome so much. Like, remind them how amazing they are to you. And this is a really vulnerable thing to do because, they're a teenager. So they might like not accept you, or they might be angry, or they might be like, oh, you're just being fake, right? Like, but you still do it anyway. That's the key, is to still do it anyway. Like, text them a little note in the morning of good morning, I love you. And even if they don't respond, they read it, they got it, right? Or send them a funny meme, like send them a comic. If your teen has gone to college, right, mail them something in the mail, like once a week or once a month. Mail them cookies, mail them a little quote on a note card, right, about thinking positively. And so there are ways that you can bond even though your teen might not be living with you. This is especially important for parents who don't live with their teen. So if you are a step parent and don't have your teen full-time, or if you're a biological parent and don't have your teen full-time, it's very important that as the adult, you make the effort to reach out to your teenager. Your teenager probably won't reach out to you. So you're going to have to be the parent. And if your teen doesn't respond, that's okay. Just continue to be that vessel of loving kindness. And when your teen is ready, they will turn to you because you have been there consistently. Also, when it comes to disposing medications, I think it's really important to talk about safe disposal of opioids. So like, you can drop your opioids off at a police station. You can flush them down the toilet. You can crush them up and mix them with cat litter and put them in a bag and throw them in the garbage. But you do not want to save any extra opioids. So for instance, a couple years ago, I got my wisdom teeth out, and I went to the doctor and I said, I don't want any opioids. Like, I just want ibuprofen. Like, I'm good. Like, I haven't, like, the pain stops after, you're swollen. So you just you have to make these choices for yourself as a consumer of this world, because if you have opioids laying around and you have depression, right, you're much more likely to turn towards them. So just throw them out, get them out of the house, and you can take extra strength ibuprofen and not have any addiction aspects to what would really come from opioids. Now, naltrexone is something that you can get from your pharmacy or Narcan, and this is a great thing if you do have a person in recovery in your house, or someone who has used opioids or heroin in the past, and just always have it handy. You may never need it, just like you may never need your Benadryl in your first aid kit, but have it in your first aid kit, because this is an important medication if someone in your family, someone that overdoses. You can use it up the nose. You can also inject it into muscle, but it's really important to have this because this can actually help someone who is overdosing, who has stopped breathing, come out of it. However, it's really important to know that like a Narcan actually has a very short lifespan. So if someone has a massive amount of opioids in their system, they can go back into an overdose after the Narcan has been administered. So right when you administer it, call 911 because they will have more to administer. Also, if you do administer Narcan, the person has just been high. So they've pretty much been like in this euphoric state. You're just snapping them out of it. So they will be very angry and they probably will be violent. So you want to be kind of prepared. And then make sure that they keep breathing, get them sitting up. And, oftentimes when you administer Narcan, you're doing a sternum rub as well. It's kind of very uncomfortable for them, but you're saving their life. So this is a medication that can save someone's life if they're overdosing on opioids. So it can be really, really helpful. A lot of insurance companies allow you to get this prescription at a very low cost now or free. So I would definitely recommend having this in your house if you have someone that you love who is in recovery. All right, so on our final note here, I wanted to give about 5 coping skills for working with stress, working with building emotional connection and meaningful connection in your family. And these are tips that maybe you take 1 or 2 and they fit for you and you say, maybe I'll try to integrate this over the next week or 2 with my teen. Get curious. I hope that these tips register, and if you have any tips of your own that you think might be helpful, you can post them in the comments below, and I'm sure a lot of families could benefit if you found something that really works for you. So tip number 1 is to journal back and forth with your teenager. So a lot of times teens are not ready to have that face-to-face eye contact conversation. There's definitely a time and place for it, but if you're looking to get information from your teen, you can talk to them about doing a back and forth journal. So you can go to a special place, have your teenager pick out a journal, like make it meaningful to them. Like if they want unicorns, get unicorns. If they want, avocados on their journal, get an avocado journal, like whatever they want, and then you'll talk about it and you'll say, I really want to try this. Do you think you'd be open to it? You have to get their consent. And so day 1, you write a page and then you leave it on their bed. Day 2, they write a page and leave it on your bed. Day 3, you write a page as the parent back to your teen, responding to your teen's journal entry. And then leave it on their bed so they can read it. And it might be something you do once a week, but this is a great way for fathers and daughters to bond, for, parents to bond with their teenagers. And this is great too. Your teen can bullet journal, your teen can draw a picture, they could write a letter to you, but the most important thing is to be that loving kindness as the parent. So you're not writing like, I really would like for you to get an A in math class this semester. You are not writing that. You are writing emotionally supportive things, validating. They will write, I can't believe so-and-so broke up with me. We were dating 3 days and I thought it was going so well, right? You're not going to write, oh, it was just 3 days, right? That 3 days was like a huge relationship to your teenager. And so you could say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. What's this breakup like for you? It sounds like so frustrating. I remember when I was in 6th grade and had a breakup too. I dated this person named Sally, and share, be vulnerable. Remember what it was like to be a teen. Like thinking back to being 12 years old, it was awkward. I had acne. I was on like 3 different acne prescriptions. Like it was so awkward. So part of this is helping your teen realize that they are perfect. Acne, braces, having all these emotions, like all of this is awesome about them because they're a human. And a big piece here is that males have these feelings too, but our culture kind of grooms men to not show them. So if you have an emotionally sensitive male child, they don't necessarily have to be gay. They're just emotionally sensitive. It's very important to get them counseling so that they realize it's okay to cry, and they realize it's okay to be an emotionally sensitive man. And that's a very beautiful part of who they are. If they're naturally into drawing or painting or artsy or doing their makeup, like, these things are okay to do for men. And it's a really beautiful part of self-expression. All right, number 2, eat at least one meal together as a family for positive coping skills, a positive relationship with food. Go grocery shopping together. Make these family activities. Meditate and pray together before you eat a meal. Praying together, even just taking 3 deep breaths before you eat food together, is going to create spiritual connection. It's going to bring you together. It's going to slow your mind down and help you realize this is something you're doing collectively, right? Because teens are already feeling isolated. They're feeling alone. They're feeling lonely. They're feeling abandoned by their friends who want to be friends with other people. And they don't want to be friends with them anymore. So now they're feeling like, oh, well, I'm just not cool. So in order to combat that of their social life, a family meal together can be a wonderful way to sit and talk, look in your teen's eye, ask them about their best friend. How's Maya? How's Aiden? How's whoever, ask them if they want to have a sleepover. A big piece of keeping an eye on your teenager is inviting their friends to your house. So if your teenager is having sex, you want them to do that in your house. You don't want them doing that in someone else's house. As unfortunate as it is, this is something that happens and is really, really hard for parents, but a lot of parents that I work with don't want to know. And it's normal. You don't really want to know that about your teen, but it's really, really important to have these conversations, because your teen is only going to learn from the experiences that they have. So they need an adult to say, this is what your penis does. Like, this is what your vagina does. Like, you have to go to that place with your teen. And if you don't want to, a therapist can do that. And that is a great, great resource, because having your teen over is going to help your teen bond with you. Your teen's girlfriend, your teen's boyfriend, whoever it is going to come to your house, is going to know that your house is the spaghetti and pasta night on Fridays, and you're going to have rapport and trust and be the supervising parent. So if you work a lot, sometimes this can be really challenging to do if you have 2 jobs or 3 jobs, but you can go to a local food pantry and get free food. You can pick one night, maybe it's once every 2 weeks, a Friday night, and invite your teen's friends over and get those friends at your house, because that's really going to give you a good idea of what's going on in the social world of your teen. And you can have that family meal with all your teen's friends, and it can be really fun. All right, number 3, have positive coping skills available. So have art supplies available, order some Model Magic air dry clay, go to AC Moore and get a variety of things. Because a lot of times teenagers will turn to eating disorders, drinking, drug use, self-harm when there's nothing else to cope with. So they're turning because it's survival. If you have a bin of art supplies with watercolors, acrylic paints, clay, glitter, when your teen gets angry, you can literally hand them this bin and they can go to their room and make something with that energy. They can make a card for grandma. They can start to transfer it into something really positive, Also, it can be helpful to have glitter gel pens. These are one of the most inexpensive items you can have, but glitter gel pens, Carolyn's like, I love them. Glitter gel pens are great because a lot of times through video sessions, teenagers are drawing while we're doing counseling. And so that can be a great way for them to get out energy, and they can use a glitter gel pen, make something really pretty for a sibling or for a friend, and it gets them catching that positive wave. That's the mission, is catch the positive wave. We're getting them on to the next thing. So have things that they can do, whether it's getting a trampoline for your backyard, whether it's, going for a run down the road with your teenager and saying, hey, we're going for a run. Let's go. Like, get your shoes on. We're going right now. Like, getting this positive energy and modeling that in what you do. So you could go to Michael's, you could go to the dollar store, you could go to Dollar General and say, hey, you have $5, get yourself art supplies. Like, you can give them a little bit of freedom in making their own choices. But it's not, hey, here's $5. Like, and then they go buy weed with it, right? You're taking them to a store, you're giving them an allowance, and you're letting them know what you're going to buy with that $5. They're not going to buy Pepsi, they're going to buy art supplies, so kind of getting some boundaries around these really healthy experiences. And then if you have trouble connecting with your teen verbally, a lot of times fathers and daughters do, as a dad, sit down and paint next to your teenager. Painting next to your teen will be a bonding activity. Like, go to the pottery shop and paint pottery with your teen. Like, talking to your teenager might be difficult. And so here are some ways that you can kind of work around that and still have a healthy relationship. Tip number 4 is do yoga together at a studio. And you can also, I have a free yoga class I recorded on my website. So you can look up Yoga with Katie. And I have a meditation on there as well. But looking up, going to a yoga class such as Hot on Bank in New London, which is where Carolyn and I met. It was so fun. You can also stop at Fiddlehead's local co-op on the way back to your house and get some organic food. Also, yoga is a way, a skill, a technique that your teenager will develop over time. It's a way of them connecting to their mind, their body, and their spirit. It's also a way for your teen to value themselves as more than just a body. So a lot of times with eating disorders, teens have kind of had this limited belief around they have to look a certain way to be accepted by peers or to continue to have the partner or the person they're dating. They have to keep looking a certain way. So with body image issues, yoga can be really helpful because it gets teens like out of their own head, out of that kind of cultural jargon, and just really into their bodies. And it can also help with different stressors, like if your teen is going through divorce, which is a family challenge. If your teen has gone through grief or trauma, yoga can be that inner moral compass that keeps them centered, especially when they go off to college. And doing it together can provide relaxation, can provide serenity, and teach your teen how to really love and accept themselves. Like, it's not about going for a 5-hour run, right? Like, you might do that if you're training for a marathon, but your teen just needs a little bit of self-connection. Like, you can go to a gentle or foundational yoga class, or you might even find one on YouTube and, put your laptop up or put your phone up and just listen. Also, the Yoga Shop in Old Saybrook has a podcast that I've been listening to. It's totally free and it's on iTunes. And those are a little bit more like cardio, but they have yoga and it's so calming and you can laugh at the teacher. And Zen and Now and Niantic has like live classes. So no matter where you are, you can always find a yoga class. Just Google your zip code and just start moving energy and moving in a healthy way. Also, I wanted to end with a 5-minute guided meditation, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So, meditation is a wonderful way to just acknowledge all the things you've been through. If you felt shame, if you felt love, like whatever it is, we're just going to feel it. And we'll just be here and I'll guide you for about 5 minutes. And you'll just be listening to the sound of my voice. I'll have my eyes closed and then I'll gently guide you out. But if you've never meditated before, this can be a new experience. And just make sure to have an open mind, make sure to be curious, and we can talk about it in the comments below. So we'll begin with a short meditation. So just allow your eyes to close. And start by taking a deep breath in through your nose and a breath out your nose. Inhale, spreading your ribs apart. And exhale, just letting your jaw get heavy. Let the corners of your eyes relax. And continue to breathe in through your nose, filling up with loving kindness. And exhale out through your nose, sending that loving kindness into the world around you. And again, breathe in, drawing in peace and harmony. And sending that positive energy out into the world with your exhale. Just know that all you need to do right now is focus on this breath in and this breath out. And just know that you are perfect just the way you are in this moment. There's nothing you have to do to change or fix yourself. In this moment, you are attracting healing energy all around you. And just begin to take another deep breath in. And this time, see if you can notice the whisper, the sound of yourself breathing. And there's no wrong or right in this moment, just noticing. Just becoming aware of yourself and all the parts of yourself that are here. And know that all parts of yourself are welcome in this safe space. And anytime you can always come back to this relaxing place just by breathing. Now we'll take 3 more breaths together. Inhale through your nose. A long, slow exhale. Ride your breath all the way to the top of your inhale where you're completely filled. Exhale all the way to the bottom when you're completely empty. One more. Breathe in. Exhale, releasing and letting go. Just letting go. Just letting go. And when you're ready, tuck your chin towards your chest. Feeling this love in your heart, this positive energy all around you. You can start to flutter your eyes open, wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers. So anytime you can always meditate just like that and take a little moment for yourself in a busy day. So now we'll open it up to any questions.
Wow, that was great.
Oh, thanks, Carolyn.
Wow, I'm relaxed. I mean, I was feeling pretty good. I was excited for our event today, but that's great. So, in preparation for this, we had a couple of questions come in real quick. Um, First of all, I just want to thank you for that session. That was amazing.
Oh,
I have to go through. I can't wait to watch this again and write down all the tips and
mhm.
and help spread those around because those are great. And just so you know, if you didn't catch this whole program live, it will be recorded and available. So just wanted to let you know if you're just tuning in now. So question number one, um, what do I do if my teen doesn't want to talk?
Ooh, that's a great question. So this is pretty common, and it's a good reason to seek therapy for your teen. So if your teen doesn't want to talk to you, it might mean that they're just not talking, and that's not like their chosen channel of communication. So they might want to draw, they might want to like go for a walk, they might want to do yoga, they might want to like talk in a different way. Maybe they'll talk if you're like baking brownies together, so like there are different ways you can kind of get in there. But having a therapist for your teen, a therapist too that specializes in adolescents and teens, like my practice, um, can bond with your teen and build trust, but they can also have a relationship with you as a parent and help relay what's going on in session to you. If your teen doesn't want to talk, you can ask them, would you like to talk to someone who's not in the family? Would you find talking to a therapist helpful? And sometimes for like a teen getting into therapy, it's the first time an entire family has ever called a therapist. Like they usually just go to the doctor, or like therapy might have a stigma of being like only something you do when you have a problem. So, a lot of times people go to personal trainers because they want to get more muscular or want to like ward off chronic pain, or want to remain healthy for the rest of their lives and want to start young. So the same thing is true about therapy. If you start your teen or adolescent in therapy, they're just going to learn emotionally focused coping skills and how to build meaningful relationships from a younger age. So you're going to give them an advantage in terms of communicating anger and communicating anxiety, rather than if they start when they're 45 in a marriage. So it's actually a real benefit. And your teen's therapist can also be someone that gives you ideas of ways to connect with your teen that have been working really well in the therapy room. Um, so I would say if your teen doesn't want to talk, it's not the end all be all, but I would offer them some options. A lot of teens are in therapy, and so there's this positive social component of, I want a therapist too. My friend Lauren's in therapy. My friend Tristan is in therapy, and I want one. So it might be something you can kind of feed off of. Oh, maybe your friends have therapists. Like, might be a good thing to talk to someone. Also, you want to maintain good communication with your teen. So even if your teen says, I don't want to talk to you, you can talk to them, ask them, hey, would you mind if I like shared a little bit about how I'm feeling as a parent, like about this change? Like you could say like, I don't know, I just want to share with you that I'm feeling a little concerned. I've been noticing that you're like posting these kind of like really dark videos on TikTok, and like I wanted to let you know I do see your TikTok. Like want to like let you know I've been stalking your social media. No, but you want to really like have a deep conversation. Like it has been. I feel really concerned with these dark videos on TikTok, and you in these hoodies and like dark masks, and like it's not the bubbly person I've known you to be. And like the past 6 months have been, a little bit darker. And I know that you're going through a tough time, and I really want to get you someone that can connect with you. And I want you to know that therapy is something for you as a teen. And like, I might set up the appointment, but I want you to know that if you don't like them, we'll try someone else. And we're going to set up 3 therapist interviews so you can meet 3 different people. And like if your teen's dyeing their hair, maybe they want a therapist that has like dyed hair, right? So like you're thinking about what your teen needs. Like the therapist is that bridge between like teen and parent. So it can actually help the parent child bond as well. Um, And I would say if your teen doesn't want to talk, like that is a big red flag that there is something deeper going on, because they're feeling pulled and conflicted, and like they don't want to talk because maybe they're going to hurt someone's feelings, or maybe they're going to say the wrong thing. And like, so there's a lot that's a sign that they need a professional, a therapist outside the family. But you want them to want to go to therapy too. So you want to find a good fit.
All right. So next question here. So we had one come in about what if my teen doesn't want to go to therapy, but you sort of just talked about that one a little bit, I think,
Yeah,
about
it's a good point.
finding the right one and seeing what they're looking for.
And, if your teen doesn't want to go to therapy, it's okay. But I would say it's not the therapy process, it's the therapist, right? It's the right fit. So just like trying on a pair of shoes, it takes, try on 6 pairs, walk around the store, so it can take time to find the right fit. And I would also say, sometimes it might be something to not use insurance. Um, depending on what type of insurance you have, some people want to use it, some people don't, some people need to use it, but it might be something to you're focusing on the relationship, right? So that should be the main focus, and the fit with the therapist.
Perfect. This one, we had 2 questions about what do I do if my kid's using drugs? So one of them had to do with, I think my kid is using marijuana, and the other one was I found some pills.
Okay.
So what do we do there?
It's a great question. I love how you separated those both. So I would say I found my child using marijuana. This is so common. And I would say, get your child a therapist, like step 1. And then step 2 is like, talk to them about it, right? Like you found the bong, like get the bong, like don't just like throw it out, like talk to them. Like, yes, take all of the items and like throw them out. But you want to sit down, because that's also not direct communication. It's like you want to sit down and say, I'm really concerned. I'm feeling, parts of me, like use part language, like parts of me are really feeling scared because I just found a bong in our Tupperware in the garage. Like, why is that there, right? Parts of me are angry because I don't want drugs in our house. Parts of me are scared because I want you to have good coping skills and I don't want you to fall off the wrong path, right? Parts of me are scared because our uncle is an alcoholic and I know that this could be a slippery slope and I want to get you support, and like be real, be genuine. Like, I feel really concerned about this, and I want to make sure that you do have good people in your life supporting you. And so a piece of what I do is, like when I work with teens, is I can't make them stop smoking, right? Like we can't make them stop. Like you never want to physically hit your child. You never want to physically hurt them if you found them using drugs. That's like a huge no-no. But you can communicate your feelings in an effective way, because that's what this is they need skills to communicate their feelings. They're using drugs because they have feelings they can't communicate. So as the parent, communicating your feelings will teach your child how to communicate theirs. The other thing is I think it's really important to address pills in a different way, because a lot of times like marijuana is a bit more of an experimentation. There's a little bit more of a buffer when it comes to like, there's a less risk to overdose. Yes, someone could fall asleep while driving and crash their car, right? But we're looking at pills in a completely different way. Pills are highly addictive. Not saying marijuana isn't, but pills are man-made, right? So they are fast acting and they will take you from 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. So they're a little bit more dangerous when it comes to drugs. Not to say you don't need to address marijuana, right? But so if you find your child using pills, so you'd want to find out what pills they are. If they have a number on them, you can Google every pill, will tell you what it is. And you want to find out what it is, where they got it. I would also not involve, too much of a whole family thing going on. You don't need to tell every aunt and uncle from Timbuktu on, you just kind of like really focus on your child, right? You know, get counseling if you need it, but you don't need to, you know, post on social media, I found my teen's bong. Like, that's also not really going to help. So I would say, like, really get clear on what you want to communicate to your teen, and be genuine, be vulnerable, be real, and let them know why. Give them your why, right? You can tell them, like, you know, when I was in high school, I had a close friend and he ended up using heroin. He's okay now, but like, he was also gay and he also had a lot of different family stuff going on, and divorce and a new baby being born. And like, so it's like, I think it's really helpful for people to work with a therapist who can see that whole family system. But if your teen is using intense pills, like, take them and talk to them about it. And make sure that you are locking your pills up, because that's probably where they got them, right? Like, it's so common. Like, grandma is on opioids and her grandson steals them. And like, who's stealing from grandma? Well, it's her teenage son, that grandson, that wants to figure out what opioids do, you know, because it's like, it's so often a relative. It's like the easiest access, right? So make sure, if you have teens and you're going to Thanksgiving at your family's house, like, have them go through this procedure. Like, if you have a teen who's self-harming, don't give them razor blades. Like, don't give them light bulbs. Like, they don't get access to those things right now. So as a parent, you have to kind of be this like sheltering buffer. If you notice your teen's going down the wrong road, as if, same thing as if they had a friend that was not a good friend, you would sit down and talk to them and say, hey, this friend is not treating you well. Hey, this friend is, you know, pressuring you. Hey, this friend, you know, doesn't care about you. You would do the same thing if it was actually a physical person. They're in relationship to everything. So you want to do the same thing, whether it's food, whether it's their body, whether it's healthy sexual activity and being a sex positive family, or drugs and alcohol.
Wow, Katie, we are so fortunate to have had you today. I am so thrilled. This was so fun.
It was
Um,
so fun.
you know, I am so glad that you could carve out some time to do this. And I just want to thank you for all of the tips. I mean, we covered so much today, and this is such a valuable session. And I hope all 40,000 people in Groton get to see this, seriously.
Yes.
And it is recorded and it will be available. So thank you for allowing us to do that today. And I just want to say, if anybody who's watching is interested in getting a hold of Katie, or learning more about Wisdom Within Counseling, the website is wisdomwithinct.com. And I believe you and the other clinicians do consultations to see if it's the right fit for people. So that's available. And Wisdom Within is in Niantic, so it's local.
Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Yes, and I hope you have a great day, and I hope we can do this again. We'll talk about doing another session another time.
All right, Carolyn, I hope you have an awesome day. Thank you so much for asking me to do this. This was so much fun to put together.
Yes, thank you so much. You rock, and I hope this video helps a lot of people.
I hope so too. I hope you guys learned a lot and can take these tips and share it with anyone that you think would enjoy these resources.
Awesome. All right. Have a great day, Katie. Thank you.
Bye.